People have asked me, Cesar, what was that like when you went to prison at 18 years old, right? And they finally gave you that 10-year sentence. And what was that like for you? Was it scary? And I almost feel like there's something wrong with me because no, it wasn't scary. It was like a high school reunion to me.
We're out in North Peoria. Let's check this out.
This is what you got. Oh, snap. Oh, man.
If everything goes wrong, this is where you'll find me in a couple years. Good morning, good afternoon, Redemption's Blueprint. We're out in North Peoria at Horizon, a recovery center with a good friend of ours, Cesar. Cesar and I met maybe 2018 inside of prison. Cesar was getting his life together, so was I. I was able to hear a lot of cool things that came from his words of wisdom as he was making his way through the recovery scene. Watched a lot of growth come out. We stayed in contact throughout that time, and then even when we were both released, I've watched Cesar mentor many men, get his family back in order, to collaborate with a bunch of different organizations to help build foundations. So super pleased to tell Cesar's story today. Very, very thankful and grateful that you're here with us today.
My name is Cesar. As Adam just said, it's an honor to be here with you guys. Truly is a privilege. Let me show you guys around.
Felt like nobody understood me. The city kept it solid like it should be. Chances I ain't never take, we never saw what it could be. No way. So many people.
Some of the things that like really stand out on your journey of when you were incarcerated, especially in Florence, was a time when you were doing a speaker meeting. They had an outside Alcoholics Anonymous representative come in, and it was like on a Saturday at noon or something, and I didn't want to go because I was on the other side of the yard, but I'm going to come in there to support one of the guys. And anytime I don't want to go, I always probably learn the most or something clicks. And you were sitting inside there and you were sharing some of your story, and you had divulged some things that I didn't think anyone was going to say. You know, I knew a lot of us have lived that same life, but everyone had a little bit of fear to really say it out loud in an environment where everybody's supposed to be tough and everybody's supposed to be solid. And you came out and said one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. And you said, I became everything I promised myself I wouldn't. And that's after, the trips across the Mexican border, all your stints inside the California prison system, in the neighborhood that you grew up in your relationship with your wife, and all these things that are going on. And it sparked something inside me to say I'm not alone, right? Because everyone was still holding on to still kind of tough. I'm in prison. And when you had said that, I remember talking to you outside of that trailer, and I was like, thank you so much. That kind of changed my perception and my thinking from that day on. And I'll always be grateful for that moment.
I mean, I went into the systems at first at 11 years old. I got arrested for the first time, right? So think of that, an 11-year-old kid getting caught with methamphetamines in school, getting the handcuffs put on themselves for the very first time. And then from that moment forward, just finding yourselves in and out, caught in that cycle we all know of, right? And I think of the brokenness that must have been inside of me that was okay for me to entertain that kind of lifestyle, right? And I also think of the desperation and how much my poor family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, how lovingly they try to help me in the best way that they possibly could, and how I was just closed off to every approach that they try to bring to me to help me, right? Because I just didn't want it, and I wasn't ready at that time to talk about the things that caused me to want to make those decisions. But it really was trauma. There was a lot of abuse that happened to me as a kid. And that really brought out a side of me that was resentful, and it was full of rage, full of anger. And what the streets will do with the angry kid is put him on the front lines, And as you go into the front lines and you start to put in that ugly work that we all know about, and they start to respect that, and then we start to get that recognition, it almost feels like a high, And I liked it, and I wanted more of it and more of it and more of it. And as I get myself older and older and older, I turned from 11-year-old kid to 15-year-old kid. And then finally here comes the big prison sentence, a nice little stretch in California. And then people have asked me, Cesar, what was that like when you went to prison at 18 years old, right? When they finally gave you that 10-year sentence. And what was that like for you? Was it scary? And I almost feel like there's something wrong with me, because no, it wasn't scary. It was like a high school reunion to me. I never made it to high school. I dropped out in elementary school, but I figured from the stories that I hear, a big old high school reunion, they start hugging, man, I haven't seen you in years, how have you been? That's what it was like for me on the level 4 yard when I finally got there. You know, people I haven't seen in a long time that had been doing lots of years already were right there knowing that I was gonna be on my way as soon as I turned 18, and there they were, right? And so I go from a street gang to a prison gang, and then I just pick up in prison where I left off on the streets, and then I use my whole stretch, the whole 10 years that I'm in there, which is no rehabilitation, just putting in work, and I come out even worse, right? I come out, my family's hoping that I could probably do a little better, because, well, most people will do a stretch and come out and not want to do anything like that ever again. I last a couple weeks and I go off to another term, you know? And then I get out again, and I go, next thing you know, decades pass by, and then I've done more time in a cell than I have living out here in the free world, you know? And that leads to the desperation that I'm telling you about, hitting that point where you just reflect, and I look back and see what it got me, right? And I look back and I see my kids being raised by other people. A couple of them are being raised in foster homes. My girl's trying to get her life back together because she just overdosed. Like, everything that was meaningful to me had to step away from me because I just caused wreckage wherever I went. I was like a tornado, just tearing everything up wherever I went, right? And just finding myself in a cell, just like dead end, nothing. And in the midst of that, the Spirit of God touching me, saying, hey, do you want something new? Because I got that for you, but I will not force it. You have to invite me into your life to do it, right? And in desperation, I say desperation because it's a gift. Amen. In that desperation, in my little mustard size of faith that I had at that time, I invited him into my life. And then from then, just the miracles that had happened in my life. And I'm not trying to say, like, when I say miracles, I mean just like unexplainable things, from like answered prayers that come in the shape of a letter, to a conversation with a meaningful friend that just has to be nothing else other than a divine appointment, right? And then watching God use other people to help me go from that brokenness to recovery, and then recovered, restored, redeemed, right? And then he says, Cesar, now I want you to go back and do what those gentlemen did for you to as many people as you possibly can.
Nice. Did you make it? I couldn't see.
All right, Adrian, he's going to set it up. I'm going to get you, and we're going to do kind of like, no?
Yeah, that'd be sick.
You make it?
Yeah.
A backward shot? That was close.
Yeah, I did earlier. Pretty good shot.
Let's see if Mom can make it. You think Mom got skills? Let's see.
I'll do granny shot. First shot.
Oh, good. Well, come this May, Mother's Day, I'll be celebrating 6 years, what people call clean and sober. But in a sense, I haven't gone a day without a buzz, right? But that buzz, I get it no longer from a synthetic spirit. That buzz, I get it now from the Holy Spirit, who gives me a super powerful buzz every time I go and I'm helpful to someone else, every time I'm in the Word, every time I'm in prayer, meditation, every time I'm out there and I'm trying to be as useful as I can to my community. Right now, I'm feeling a good one coming in, right? I'm doing a full pull of recovery right now, right? And could it be that that's what I was seeking for in my whole life? Right? Could it be that that's the spiritual buzz, the inebriation that I was seeking in the world? And until God revealed to me that this is what I needed my whole life, I was gonna go out there and try it in different ways, shapes, or forms in the world, right? And then until I get a taste of the real stuff. And just like how you get it when you get a taste of the real stuff, even back in the day when we got a real taste of the good drugs or whatever, the first thing I would do is I want to go share that with everybody else. You know, hey, you gotta try this. This is right. So I do that kind of in my own spiritual way today, right? Because I know that what I have today is good, and I want other people to feel that same buzz that I'm on. So I come and I try to share that, right? Because I could only have it by giving it freely, right? And that's part of my biggest walk today, is to be able to go help my community as best as I can in any way, shape, or form, big or small. And it's not just to the alcoholic, to the addict. You know, at first that was a good start, but it's in general, anybody that's in need, the best way that I can.
Tell us about those blessings, Michelle, your children, the new job, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally fit, going to meetings, doing what you sought out to do. It's all happening inside of your life right now.
So at my lowest, I found myself morally and ethically bankrupt, if that makes any sense to you. You sure that right?
Resonates for sure.
Everything that I know a man shouldn't be doing, I found myself doing, right? Today, one of the biggest blessings that I have, that I recognize on a daily basis, is the fact that I feel like I have integrity today, right? I feel like that I'm the man that God is turning me into, is there for his children, is there for his girlfriend, is there for the mom, is there for his friends, serves his community with compassion and love, right? The biggest blessings that I have today, here's this thing, like this promise that God gives us, and I'm not trying to get too spiritual or religious right now, but there's this promise found in Joel chapter 2 where he says, I will restore to you the years that the locust has taken from you, right? And I feel like I'm living in that blessing every day. God has literally gave me everything that the enemy attempted to take from me, and in one way, shape, or form did take away from me for a little bit. God has given me back that plus some, right? So the fact that I'm able to wake up today, and just today, for example, my day off work, get to wake up my kids, go, shake them up from their own little bed. Hey, it's time to get ready. We're gonna go meet up with Adam. We're gonna go hang out with some friends. Like years ago, I was already convinced that I was never gonna be able to do that, right? I had already accepted the fact that my kids they were placed in CPS custody, they were fostered out, they already had that in place. But God said no, right? No, I'm gonna give him back to you, and he has given me back my family. To me, that's the biggest blessings that I could speak on, because that was my biggest pain right there, was the fact that I thought that I was never gonna be able to hold my kids ever again. Here's something that God gave me, right? Because the day that I stepped out of the prison gates for this last time, I remember thanking God, and I said, God, thank you for this freedom that you're giving me. And he said, Cesar, I freed you a couple years ago when you invited me into your life. Today, your body just caught up. Spiritually and mentally, you were already free a couple years ago when you invited me into your life. Today, your body caught up. And I felt that, and I felt that. And every time I see a brother come out of prison and he says, finally free, welcome home, I'm like, well, yeah, your body caught up today, but God freed you the minute that you allowed him into your life.
J like the letter, I'm making several waves. I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my past is last, like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this is buffet. And if I'm stumbling, I'm in the graves. Never gon' fumble it, I get the bag and I run with it. Gunning it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it. Murray with the legs, all about finesse, I am not impressed. I don't need a rash coming in with blast, then you see the flash. Elohim with the melody and they can't supply the breath. 70, keep it heavenly, everybody get the bread.